So I'm trying to make a repair panel to replace this bit that I cut out. The bit at the goop at the top here shows that that's the top. So you've effectively got like a double curve, one after the other. On one of my dog walks, came across this big lump of metal, Conskilder. And I looked it up, and it's actually this. It's straight up here, sharp curve, and then a longer curve. But unfortunately, it is also curved. It's got a dip in it like this. This was effectively part of a plough from a track. Basically, it had, these were like sprung great big sprung mountings, and obviously this one rusted away, and the farmer took it off and threw it in the bushes. I saw it, I thought, oh, that's quite handy, I'll use that, and so that's what I brought home. And what I have done, you can see here, is I've basically used that in the vise, using this bend here and this bend here and a bit of tapping. Effectively bent it a few times, and you know, we're pretty close to that original shape. It is longer than needed, so we'll have to work out where that goes, and we're also going to need a lip along this edge, which we'll apply so that we can weld in this side before we put this in. So yeah, so that's my first attempt at making this panel. We'll go and fit it up and see how it looks. Okay, so this is what we've got up to so far. What I did is I drew around it a couple of times just to make sure I'd done it correctly. And then bent this up and try my best to get it as close to that line as I can. I think I did start with this bend. Did start here, but you need to, the problem is when you start bending this way and this way, it sort of flattens that out, and I think maybe I should have made it a bit tighter to start with. Effectively, all I was using was this in the vise, you know, finding whereabouts it meets the curve, and trying to get to that. But if you just bend down there, that straightens this out, so I need to still add a little bit more of a kink to that. And then of course we put an angle on the bottom so that it goes up against the sill. It's not far off now, it's pretty close. Like I say, it was, you know, put it in the vise to bend that over. Did use this a little bit to tighten it up. You know, you can put a bit on here, tighten it up a little bit, try it on here, see where you're out. It does look like this has opened up a bit. You know, just putting a bit of pressure on that brings that in. So yeah, just a bit of fiddling around. Still need to tighten it up a little bit towards the top here. I'm doing that just by, you know, going on the edge of the bench or on here. It's probably better on here. Just to get as close to that as I possibly can. There is a slight turn out again at the top here. I'm not sure if you can see it there. You can just maybe bring it a bit closer. You can see it. Obviously, we've got this swage line here, and then as it cut, you know, nice curve, and then Just as it gets to about here, it starts to turn out again. So we're probably still a bit straight here. You probably need a bit more, we need this to be a bit more defined. Yeah, the curve's not too bad. Try and get it so you can see. Yeah, just trying to get that curve so it matches on here. That's pretty close. Put this here. So if I put that on that side, you can see, yeah, it probably needs to be about there. See, it's starting to come out a bit more. We need this bit rounder. That's pretty good. Well, that's probably the best it's been. So, well, I'm not sure how clear that turns out for you, but that's, that's pretty close for me. Let's see how it fits to the car. I'm pleased when I can get stuff that's a bit higher up. So it needs to run flush here. There's a little bit sticking out there, so I have to grind that off. And we might cut that off actually. Cut that corner off just so that we can fit it in there better. So effectively, from about here, it's absolutely straight. Now you could try and bend that over, but I'm not going to do that. I am going to cut it off, and then I'm going to get a piece of metal, a thin piece of metal, and weld it on like that. Just like Fitzy says, that's the way to do it. Keep it simple. I mean, there's so many bends and curves, you'd have to cut that in lots of slots and bend it individually, and it'll look terrible. If you put a piece on the end, you can cut this side perfectly the dimension you want, as long as you take this off and weld on the inside before you weld all this on. You can weld the inside, you can weld the outside, and then you've got plenty to grind to get a nice rounded edge. And so yeah, that's what we'll do. If you want to see how this is really done, go see Fitzy's Fabrications. Fantastic YouTube channel. Certainly learned a lot from him just watching the videos. So yeah, that's my recommendation for today. Go watch Fitzy's Fabrications. So yeah, we have got this slot here. Obviously that's not good, but we have to cut out this rot here, so yeah, we'll probably do a panel, something along those lines, to repair that. We'll just butt weld this along here, down and around. We'll drill some holes along the bottom, and yeah, that's good. Quite happy with that. I'll just do a few tacks onto that to get it, hold it in place, and then work out this edge a bit more accurately and cut it to size, and then do the end plate and go from there. So as you can see, I've just marked out on a bit of scrap metal here a wider piece of steel, an overlap, so that's going to be the end cap, and I'm going to weld it on before I weld this on. I might tack this on and then weld that, and then I'll cut it off so I can get to the back of it. Once you weld this piece into the car, this angle here you will not be able to get at with the welder, because you'll be, the wheel arch is here, so you won't get to this bit. So you need to cut this piece out first, weld it onto the end, then I can weld on the inside, and then yeah, it'll be all good. Okay, so what we've done, we just cut a piece of metal out. It's thicker than we need, it's overlapping. You can see that it's just an odd shape drawn on it, roughly where I want it to be. And what we're going to do is we're going to weld that on, then we'll cut it back to shape, and that'll give us the end for the outer sill end plate, I guess is what you call it. Yeah, looks okay. Just tack it on first. Okay, so that looks okay. What we can do now is we can weld up on the inside and the outside, and grind it to shape once we've finished. Okay, that looks pretty good. The inside too. What we can do now is grind it back to shape. You obviously see me grinding, so there's no point in showing you that, but what it does mean is we put a thick weld on the inside and on the outside, which means we can grind this way and on from the back, but then we can do a nice curve on this edge, and there's plenty of meat there. So that's the whole idea of doing it this way. You see a lot of heat's been put into there because I was getting a bit carried away, but it's such a, it's a right angle, there's a curve going, compound curves as well. Doubt very much there's any warpage going on there. Okay, so still a couple of little bits here to re-weld, but effectively ground it all back. I then ran, sort of width around here, and so we're going to angle grind back to that line there. Cut that off there and cut that off there, and that'll be it. Okay, so here's the finished panel. Ground it back along this edge here, ground it along that edge there. Still a little bit there maybe, but bearing in mind we do have to still put that edge on it when we've finished, just a nice curve on it, but we're bound to have to go near this using a welder, so we may have to grind some of it off later, so I want to keep it as thick as I can. So on the inside here, I have cleaned up a bit. We'll probably plug weld, drill some holes and plug weld into there so that the piece that's coming across here and then does a U shape has something to weld to. So I temporarily just tacked it in there. You can see there's this lip here is slightly a bit more rounded, but you can see it's also swollen, as it were. So we've got that edge in there. We can always pull this back out a little bit just to match this, because it does seem to go out a little. And what I've done then is I've made a cardboard template to go in here to rebuild that panel. So this is a panel I made previously. We have to make this raised or the stepped shape that follows the outer edge. So here's the newer cardboard template. If we line those, it is fairly different here. It's not really going to work. It needs to be up here as well. So we'll just make a new one of these. It's out of 14 gauge steel, so a bit thicker. You can see there. Yeah, so make a new one of those. Same as before. Put it in the vise. You put it in the vise that way round, and then chisel out to get this edge. So here's the outer seal. This end plate on. Then you also saw me make one of these earlier. What I've also done is put a strip around the edge. Just a simple strip around the edge and weld inside and outside. And then put a piece on the outside after that. So that goes right in there like that. So when this goes to the seal, and then this we'll do some plug welds around here into here. So we've just got to cut this bit back, and then we'll be ready to weld that bit in, and then that bit on after. Okay, so there you have it. Ground that back a bit, and it'll clamp up nicely to there by the time we put some welds in there. This needs to come end here anyway, so I need to cut some of that off as well. So that goes in pretty much like that. So that'll be the next stage. Next stage will be to put this piece in. Alignment's going to be critical, but it's it's part of the game. So as soon as you add this right angle to this piece, it gets very very solid. There's no play in it, and the same for the even worse for the 14 gauge. So a lot of work backwards and forwards. So now we're actually at the point where I'm happy with it going this way with the curves, with it, it's right up against the seal, and so we can weld these. We can weld up here, along here, and along here, and up there. Obviously, we still need to do some more work up here, but that's for another day. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to concentrate on getting this back piece in the welded in, and then put some plug welds in this, and then that's effectively welded up is what we need to do now. So we've done some welding up here and along here and along here and along here. Obviously that's just the first pass. We'll go over there and fill in fill in the gaps. Again, same on the end here. See, missed a bit there. So yeah, that's the sort of intermediate stage. I'll come back when it's all done. So here you go, pretty much there, welded in, cut back underneath. Just obviously, like I say, we've got to fix, we'll be putting some, doing some more repairs up here, so that's staying as it is. It's all ground back. So next thing, just put on a bit of primer. Thanks for watching. Hope it inspires you to get out in the garage and do some work yourselves.